What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt Taville with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Frank the Cuban Flash Sanchez. Get this. Sanchez states that he wants Wilder. He said, "It will be a year before Tyson Fury and Usyk have two fights, and this is too long to wait for a championship fight," Sanchez said. He said, so the next best thing would be Deontay Wilder. Wow. He also said it. Jared Anderson will not fight me, Sanchez said. I asked the WBO to help make a fight against Anderson, but I am told at the convention that the WBO president, Paco Valcárcel, asked Top Rank at the ratings meeting if they would allow number 2 Anderson to fight number 3 me, and Top Rank said no. He said, this leaves Deontay Wilder. I understand that Andy Ruiz is asking for ridiculous money, so forget him. I will be reasonable with money because I know I will win against Wilder. Wow! Let me counterpunch. I like the attitude of Frank Sanchez, and honestly, if everyone had this type of mentality, things in the boxing world would go along a lot smoother and a lot quicker and a lot better, and the way it really should go. The way Frank Sanchez is talking, the way he wants these fights, his ideology is spot on, and it pisses confidence. Okay, that's what it tells me, because it tells me that Frank Sanchez is not afraid to fight the best. He wants the best, and he's not trying to wait for that one guy, because he's waiting for that one payday that he only wants to take that risk for, and that risk only. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these guys are. Like Andy Ruiz asking for all that fucking money. You won't tell us what you asked for, though. You said something along the lines of something that somebody didn't like. Okay? And Jared Anderson, speaking of him for a second, the Charles Martin fight was probably a wake-up call, but before that, people, the breakdown with Roy Jones, mentor him the way he did, and the interview that he had with Fight Hub TV, shout out to them, where he said, well, I only want to fight 3 or 4 fucking years, and then I'm done. And then that breakdown, oh, I'm 23 and I got all this and all these responsibilities. And like Roy was like, motherfucker, you can handle it in his own way. That showed me that maybe he might not be ready for what people think that he's ready for. You know, besides the talk, besides the cap, besides the hype, besides the build up, besides all that. I don't think that Anderson wants it. Now, the weird thing is, before the breakdown, before the scare with Charles Martin, he was calling out Frank Sanchez. If you guys can remember, he was calling him out, and Frank was like, well, look, I'm above you a couple years. You need to do a lot more than what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because if I beat you now, they're going to say I beat somebody that never been in there with anybody, but now he has. He's been in there with the former IBF heavyweight champion, Charles Martin. You know, and I would like to hear what Jared Anderson has to say before I pass judgment upon that man. You know what I mean? And likewise to Deontay Wilder. Now, speaking of Deontay Wilder and Frank Sanchez, Al Heyman fighters, there's no reason he shouldn't fight Frank at all. Number 4 in the WBC, he's number 1. There's no reason. He's in the top 5. There is no reason that he shouldn't take Frank Sanchez up on that offer. None. That's 2 Cubans in the bag, right? He got Luis Ortiz 2 times, and now this is the Luis Ortiz second generation, second coming, right? So, yeah, he should want that fight. And if he doesn't want that fight, you're going to have to scratch your head. You're going to really have to scratch your head. And if he doesn't respond, you're going to have to scratch your head. Because Deontay Wilder and his team, Malik Scott, has complained about not having or getting tune-up fights, waiting on fights that never came through due to BS or whatever. Politics, greed, fear, whatever it is. Okay? Now, that was supposed to have been the problem. Now, you have a guy, a young guy, which is, how old is Frank now? How old is Frank? I don't know how old Frank is now. I think he's like 29, right? 29 years of age or whatever. But he's young. And he's a contender. He's a contender. So that's the fight that Deontay Wilder should take. We've heard of Frank. Frank upset little Wilder, Efe Ajagba. Remember that? Right? Undefeated. Skilled. Cuban school. You know? Sons de Cuba. Right? So I think if anything at all, somebody needs to respond. I mean, with action. First by words, but with action. With Frank Sanchez, because Frank is knowing like I'm peaking. I'm getting to the point where I'm needing a fight. I'm tired of this, guys. The whole undisputed fights are coming up, and they may be on hold for a whole year. He doesn't want to wait a whole year. That just shows you he's ready. And his patience is running thin, but his patience is running thin with alternatives. Okay? So you don't see Andy Ruiz calling out Frank Sanchez. You don't see Deontay Wilder calling out Frank Sanchez. You don't hear Anderson or Jared Anderson no more calling out Frank Sanchez, unless he's going to do it here in the near future. But no, I like the attitude, because look, I don't ask, and he won't ask for crazy money. Why? Because he knows he can win. See, when you start asking for a lot of money, you're banking and you're asking on money because you want to guarantee not knowing or fearing the outcome. See, if Andy Ruiz asks for that amount of money or more money than he's worth, he's afraid that he's going to get knocked the hell out. See, he's talking big shit now because there's nothing on the table. There's no offer resent to him. There's nothing negotiating between him and Wilder. That's why he's big talking now, simply because he knows that there's nothing to fear, because there's nothing near for him to fear. Bars, right? So if anything, I think Frank Sanchez is saying, well, I'm not going to ask for crazy money because I know I can beat you. When a person, okay, Terrence Crawford, smaller end of the pie, right? Alexander Usyk, 30% of the 100% pie. Now Frank Sanchez, I won't ask for crazy money. I know I can win. When people start talking that way, you can understand that that's a dangerous guy, because he's not doing it for any other motive but to kick you in your ass. Take you out. And it's scary because a lot of people, they hide behind the money. A lot of people said, you know what? Fuck the money. They like, show enough, keep your money. I'll do it for free, for dismemberment. Right? So I think, if anything, Frank Sanchez has the right attitude. He has the right idea. He has the right mindset. And he believes in his ability. And he's game for a lot of fucking people. You don't hear Anthony Joshua calling him out either, do you? No, you don't hear people calling out Frank Sanchez. They're not calling Frank out because they know Frank and they know what Frank's about. But seriously, I love this attitude, and I think that's what runs people off, but that's what reveals who's real, okay? And reveals who really wants to fight Frank. Because if you really want to fight Frank, he has it on a silver platter, and he ain't trying to break your pockets. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Frank Sanchez calling out Deontay Wilder, calling out Jared Anderson. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.